being here today, and with 6 of you, obviously, we've been indulgent a little bit on time, so I appreciate you doing that, but you're not done yet. I have my own sets of questions, but I'm grateful. I think everybody here not only is committed to helping solve the problems. It might come from different viewpoints or angles, and General Lynch, thank you for your continued service to our country, and not only in your previous life, but now you're doing something easy like taking on the Bureau of Prisons. So we are grateful to your continued selfless service, and welcome to your first hearing. It seems to me that coupled with recidivism, over-incarceration, in my state in Oklahoma, we have one of the highest rates of incarceration per capita, but we also have, at least with state agencies, a ban-the-box provision where we have tried to address and look at this. But I think coupled with that is our judiciary branch and its examination on how we look at sentencing. We seem to have an incarcerative justice system rather than a restitutive justice system. And until we address that, and then as lawmakers, many times I think we, wanting to be tough on crime and all of these things, I think oftentimes we tie the hands of the equal branch of government, being the judiciary, where judges can have latitude in their courts. Not every case is the same. Not every background is the same. Not every propensity for future criminal behavior is the same, even though the crimes might be identical. We have to take that on as well as a part of that. I think, if I may start with you, Mr. Martin, and thank you for your work in highlighting these issues. As a business owner that manufactures firearms, I have even made a hire where we had somebody with a criminal record, which is, can be risk-taking and complicated given what we manufacture. I'm thinking as from an employer end, okay, say we have a ban-the-box provision, but then it's like, okay, Mr. Russell, tell me about your work history in the last 5 years. And then I'm like, I haven't been working in the last 5. Well, why not? Where you been? I mean, so how do we? Yes, we have a ban-the-box type of provision, but at the same time, we also are kind of placing the applicant in a situation where really the applicant is going to have to divulge what's been going on if they're in that first 2-year at-risk period trying to come out and look at employment. Could you address that?
Sure. So here is where I give credit to the Second Chance Act and the sort of reentry infrastructure that it's created around the country, because programs like Safer, Fortune Society, a number of others around the country are in the business of helping job seekers understand how to have that conversation with employers. If you asked me if I were an applicant now for a job just out of prison, yes, I would take ownership over the conviction, but I'd spend a lot more time talking to you about what I've done since then by way of evidence of rehabilitation, whether it was drug and alcohol treatment programs, or in my case, access to a liberal arts degree, or those sort of things. So we're not going to solve all of the problems with ban-the-box, and I'm actually glad you brought up the fact that a conservative state has moved forward with ban-the-box, because there's actually a number of more conservative states that have done so. But I think that, we got here through a million cuts, and it's going to take probably just as many antidotes to get us out of this, and one of them is ban-the-box, but another one is continuing to invest in reentry programs through the Second Chance Act that do the job of preparing people for that interaction. And what I don't want to get lost in this conversation is something that the chairman said before he departed, which is, let's talk about human beings and how they operate, right? Like, we can look at the research, we can look at the data, but we also know that we have done a great job of dehumanizing the people that go into the system, whether it's violent, nonviolent, and everything else on the spectrum. And that continued interaction between prospective employer and prospective employee, I think ultimately we will look back and realize that we have done a lot to rehumanize those folks, even if it means that every single person doesn't get the job, because people will walk. I visited 50 different employees. I guaranteed you that maybe a third of them I probably wasn't even qualified, but just very desperate for a job opportunity. But at the same time, the interaction, I don't want to devalue the value of that.
Well, thank you for that. And I do have some additional questions as we close out, but I will go ahead and yield back and recognize the gentleman from California.